What is up, 5-Tool fam? We got Ben here. We're going to do a video analysis. I'm Stephen Guidani with 5-Tool Sports Science. Let's take him into this leg lift. Alright, Ben, so great job of staying inside your drive leg initially. You got your weight, here's your drive leg. Staying inside, you're going to start riding your momentum down the mound. That's good. That's what we want to see. Decent job of riding your momentum down. On a mound, you're going to pick up probably a lot more distance. On a flat ground, that's a little bit harder to do. So I like what you're doing initially. I think you're doing a great job of holding torsion as you're moving down the mound. That's what I like to see. So right here, initially a great job, but what we're going to see is that's going to start collapsing in valgus. All right, so this front leg is probably swinging out a little too aggressively. We can't see because the foot's jumping out of the frame, but that looks like that foot is fully open. And this back leg and knee is going to start collapsing in. So now you're kind of just pulled out of that good load position. Your leg's extended, your front side is starting to open, and you're in a collapsed valgus knee position. This is just a bad front leg position to try to initiate drive and produce force. All right, so let's go forward. So now you're trying to drive, but like I said, it's just going to be tough to get any power and force out of that drive leg position. I'm trying to see where you're hitting front foot strike here. I think it's somewhere right there. Come on. All right, that looks like front foot strike. All right, I like where your shoulders are at. I think that's a great position. Back hip. It's in a decent position getting forward. Ankle's not all the way kicked through, so it might be slightly closed. Part of that is because you got this Velo Pro harness on, so I wonder what it would look like without the Velo Pro harness. The Velo Pro harness is just added resistance through your drive leg, so it makes it more difficult to drive out. So it brings up a good point that I would like to see too, how you're holding torsion and driving without the Velo Pro harness on. But here, it looks like, the back hip isn't fully driven through. Ankle's still not completely turned over. So it's going to be a little bit late hip rotation, which is going to affect the kinematic sequence. So then going into shoulder rotation, we can see, slight early glove side pull. See if it leads to any hyperangulation. So there is going to be some hyperangulation here. All right, so this is where, your trunk is getting fully turned over here, and this elbow is getting caught behind the scapular plane. That can be hard on the shoulder, it can be hard on the UCL, and a lot of that is just predicated off not driving and getting that energy through the back leg to power the kinematic sequence, where the hips are building, then the trunk builds, and then the arm builds, all one off the other. When you get this early trunk rotation and early glove side pull, your upper body is trying to overcompensate because of the lack of energy from the lower half to put force on the ball. So when you're getting that glove side pull, that's what starts to lead to this arm drag, this hyperangulation, if you will. All right, let's go forward. All right, and you're also getting, it looks like, tough to kind of tell from this angle, but it looks like you're adducting in front of the face as well. That's where your elbow position up here is pushing in front of the face. That's hard on the UCL. I think your front leg is landed in a pretty good flexion. I like your front leg position. Let's see how you transfer it. Can't really tell where pitch release is at. I'm assuming it's somewhere right in there. Go back. All right. I'm assuming pitch release was probably right there. I see your shoulder pop up. I'm trying to stop it right on it. This is the frustrating part. There we go. All right, so that's not accurate. There we go. So still a little bit of flexion in the front leg extension, but pretty good job of stabilizing, extending the front leg, and that's leading to some pretty good forward trunk tilts. But could obviously get faster off of that front leg and could get more forward trunk tilts. But big takeaways is going to be the back leg drive and powering the hip rotation. So great initial job of holding torsion. as you're moving down the mound, but you got to just keep holding torsion longer and riding. And then also once you've hit your sweet spot, like I would say, this is a great force vector. This is a great position to start your drive. It would be not letting that front leg keep leaking out, because that's pulling you out of your load. It's also it's making you collapse this knee in, and it's just leaving you in a bad position to try to drive from. So I think you get into a great position, you just got to start driving. So right in here, I would say, hey, this is a great position. Now you got to start driving to produce force and not let this front side continue to fly open. So keeping that front side closed. When you start getting more efficient with that drive, and then you're landing at foot strike and that pelvis is completely driven through, like this would be pelvis completely open, and then it would just be keeping shoulders more closed, also keeping your trunk a little farther back. This would be ideal. That would be ideal hip to shoulder separation. You get to a pretty decent position, but it could definitely be better. Going forward, I think you had pretty good front leg stabilization, front leg extension, and forward trunk tilt. So it's really just getting better out of that drive leg, holding torsion better. Once you hit that spot, driving, powering the hip rotation so you can get energy, linear energy and angular velocity going through that hip. That's going to lead to a more efficient kinematic sequence. Hopefully calms down some of that glove side pull so that you don't get hyperangulation in the arm. It's going to lead to more velocity. It's going to lead to better health. All right, buddy.